A presentation of the United States Fish and Wildlife Service.
Big Oaks National Wildlife Refuge is a landscape that has received a new lease on life. For more than 50 years, this 50,000-acre tract in southeastern Indiana was the site of Jefferson Proving Ground, a U.S. Army weapons testing facility. Here, a variety of conventional weapons, everything from mortar shells to rockets, were fired to test their effectiveness in warfare. The Army closed the proving ground in 1995 after the Cold War ended. It was then that local citizens and natural resource officials saw an exciting opportunity to protect the natural resource values of this area. In 2000, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service established a National Wildlife Refuge overlaid on this Army property. The National Wildlife Refuge system has more than 500 refuges across the country. Through the refuge system, the Fish and Wildlife Service helps protect a healthy environment for plants, fish, wildlife, and people. Refuges like Big Oaks help safeguard our rich natural heritage for future generations. But Big Oaks is unusual within the refuge system because it was established on the site of a former military base. The Jefferson Proving Ground site had excellent potential for a refuge because it contained unusually extensive and varied wildlife habitat. Before the area became a weapons testing site in 1940, the land had been used mainly for farming and grazing. Once the military took over, the Army used some of the old farm fields as range impact areas. These fields were periodically burned to reduce the chance that weapons testing would ignite wildfires. Over time, those burns encouraged development of the lush grasslands and savanna-like areas now found throughout much of the refuge. These grasslands provide habitat for many types of plants, animals, insects, and birds. One of the largest remaining population of Henslow sparrow, a rare grassland bird, nests on the refuge. During its tenure, the Army allowed other parts of the proving ground to revert to forest. As a result, Big Oaks now has some of the largest uninterrupted blocks of forest in the state of Indiana. The extensive woodlands provide habitat for many forest-dwelling creatures, including wild turkey reestablished in 1979, and many migratory songbirds. Visitors may get a glimpse of such rare warblers as the cerulean, worm-eating, and blue-winged warblers. A mammal that relies on refuge trees is the federally endangered Indiana bat. In summer, bats roost and raise their young under the shaggy bark of live, dead, or dying trees. Along with forests and grasslands, the refuge contains another vital habitat, ponds and streams. These provide homes for beaver and other wildlife. River otters have also taken up residence, with a little help from people. In 1996, the Indiana Department of Natural Resources released the state endangered otters here. Today, their populations are growing thanks to federal and state protection and good habitat, like streams filled with fish, crayfish, and mussels. Old Timbers Lake, a 165-acre impoundment built by former Jefferson Proving Ground employees, plays host to migrating and wintering bald eagles and ospreys. Refuges like Big Oaks are managed first and foremost to meet the needs of wildlife. Biologists monitor population levels and research wildlife habitat needs. Refuge staff also improve wildlife habitats and protect rare species. One management tool is called prescribed burning. At certain times of the year, staff set carefully controlled fires in the refuge's grassland areas. These fires retain the open character of these important habitats by inhibiting the growth of shrubs and trees. While wildlife takes first priority at Big Oaks, people are welcome to visit and enjoy the refuge. Anglers can fish for bass, bluegill, crappie, and catfish at Old Timbers Lake. A lottery is used to select fishermen. The refuge limits the number of people using the lake at any one time to ensure a high-quality experience. Hunting for some game species also is available on the refuge, with hunts conducted by lottery. In addition to their recreational value, these hunts keep deer at healthy population levels and reduce damage to the habitats of other refuge creatures. The refuge also offers rich opportunities for wildlife observation and photography. And for groups of people who like to learn more about the natural world, the refuge offers interpretive tours and environmental educational programs. With the exception of hunting and guided tours, the refuge confines most of its public use activities to a day use area in the northern end. Because of past military use, visitors must be aware of the hazards they might encounter on the refuge. The area contains significant amounts of unexploded ammunition, also referred to as unexploded ordnance or munitions. These are things like shells and bomblets that fail to explode properly and that could still be live. The ordnance has not been removed because clearing an area subjected to such heavy bombardment could cost billions of dollars. So visitors to Big Oaks National Wildlife Refuge must understand the dangers and take special safety precautions. These are described in the following safety briefing. To gain access to the refuge, every visitor must read and sign an Acknowledgement of Danger Agreement. This portion of the video explains each of the 9 points covered in this agreement. Point number 1 refers to hazards related to Jefferson Range. Although the Army has ceased operations at Jefferson Proving Ground, the Indiana Air National Guard continues to operate Jefferson Range, which is surrounded by the refuge. The Guard uses this area for air-to-ground bombing and strafing practice. Large safety buffers separate the practice range from those parts of the refuge open to the public. Though unlikely, it's possible that practice munitions could stray outside of the safety zone, or that planes could crash in the refuge's public use areas. The first point in the agreement relates to these hazards. It reads, Big Oaks National Wildlife Refuge, abbreviated in the agreement as BONWR, contains the danger of property damage and permanent, painful, disabling, and disfiguring injury or death due to falling objects such as aircraft, live ammunition, and practice munitions due to the proximity of Jefferson Range. There are also physical injury and health dangers from ground and aerial laser and other electromagnetic emissions from training exercises at Jefferson Range. Please initial the first blank to indicate you are aware of these risks. Point number 2 relates to risks from unexploded ammunition. The refuge, including areas outside of former impact areas, is still littered with many types of unexploded ammunition. Some, like this mortar shell, look the way you might expect a piece of ammunition to look. But a wide variety of munitions were tested here, including everything from grenades to anti-personnel devices. And some of this ordnance just looks like harmless scraps of metal. But any of these objects could still be live and could explode if disturbed, so be careful where you step. And if you see anything that looks suspicious, don't go near it and don't pick it up. Point number 2 reads, Big Oaks contains the danger of property damage and permanent, painful, disabling, and disfiguring injury or death due to the presence of expended but still live bombs, rockets, cannon rounds, flares, and other types of warheads. Unexploded munitions may be encountered anywhere within Big Oaks, lying on the ground or completely buried. These munitions can still explode, though they may have lain in the ground for decades. I have been instructed not to approach or disturb any military equipment or ordnance discovered on Big Oaks. If encountered, please report to Big Oaks office. Do not touch any metal object. Please initial the second blank indicating you are aware of these risks. Point number 3 relates to hazards associated with old home sites. As you travel through the refuge, you may see old ruins of homes and other structures that date from days before the military occupied the area. Virtually every homestead contained a well or cistern to supply water. These uncovered wells or cisterns may be hidden under thick vegetation. People could fall into these holes and be injured or drowned. If you encounter an old homestead, be careful where you step. If you do come across a well or cistern, report the location to the Big Oaks office. Point number 3 reads, Big Oaks contains the danger of injury or death from the presence of old cisterns, wells, natural sinkholes, and other openings or weaknesses in the earth, as well as other natural and/or man-made conditions which are too numerous to list herein. Please initial the third blank indicating you are aware of these risks. Point number 4 relates to the areas that you may and may not use on the refuge. The refuge is divided into dozens of different marked areas, each of which has been assigned a number. Before you enter the refuge, a staff member will indicate the area you're authorized to use. You must stay in the area to which you've been assigned, because each area has a limit on the number of people it can accommodate. Plus, that way, it will be easier for refuge staff to find any missing persons. Signs are posted along the boundaries to help you find the various numbered areas. In addition, as you travel through the refuge, you'll encounter various areas that are closed to all public entry. You may see barricades across some roads and areas that are marked as closed or keep out. These signs are posted on the boundaries of hazardous areas. Any visitor who is found in a closed area or in a numbered area different from the one to which they've been assigned will be fined and/or barred from the refuge. Point number 4 reads, although signs exist to identify public use areas and closed areas, Big Oaks cannot feasibly be marked to warn of the location and nature of each danger. Be aware of where you are and make sure you are in an area you are authorized to be in. Watch your step. Please initial the fourth blank indicating you are aware of this requirement. Point number 5 relates to natural hazards. Visitors to Big Oaks National Wildlife Refuge need to come prepared for the outdoors. There is no source of safe drinking water on the refuge, so bring your own water as well as food, a compass, and first aid supplies. Dress appropriately for the weather. And finally, watch out for snakes. While most of the snakes on the refuge are not harmful, venomous copperheads do live here and should be avoided. Point number 5 reads, Big Oaks occupies one of the more remote areas in Indiana. I have been advised to guard against the dangers presented by the remoteness of Big Oaks, occasional extreme temperatures, and other threats such as venomous snakes. Big Oaks contains no source of safe drinking water. I have been advised to pack sufficient water, food, compass, and first aid supplies with me for any visit. Please initial the fifth blank indicating you are aware of these hazards. Point number 6 relates to hazards you may encounter on refuge roads. Use care when driving in the refuge. Many of the roads are narrow. They pass through steep terrain and cross bridges with low or no guardrails. The wildlife on the refuge pose another road hazard, so for your safety and